The bass throbs through Valentina's chest as she pushes through the crowd at Il Sogno Nero, Florence's most exclusive nightclub. She shouldn't be here. The velvet ropes, the impossibly beautiful people, the bottles of champagne that cost more than her monthly rent. All of it screams that a graduate student surviving on pasta and scholarship money doesn't belong. But her best friend Chiara insisted, practically dragged her from their tiny apartment near the university, swearing that tonight would change everything. "You need this," Chiara had said, applying red lipstick to Valentina's protesting mouth. "You've been buried in books for 6 months. When was the last time you even looked at a man?" Valentina hadn't answered because they both knew the truth, not since Marco, not since she'd walked in on him with that blonde in their bed, her bed, the one her nonna had given her when she moved to Florence for her master's degree. The memory still stings, sharp and bitter, even 8 months later. Now she's here, wearing a black dress Chiara lent her that's too short and too tight, heels that make her ankles wobble, and enough makeup to feel like someone else entirely. Maybe that's the point. Tonight, she's not Valentina Rossi, the serious graduate student researching Renaissance art. Tonight, she's just a girl in a club, trying to remember what it feels like to be young and reckless. "There," Chiara shouts over the music, pointing toward the VIP section elevated above the main floor. "That's where we need to be." Valentina follows her friend's gaze and immediately shakes her head. The VIP area is roped off with thick velvet cords, guarded by 2 men whose shoulders are so broad they could be mistaken for doorways. Inside, the lighting is different, softer, more golden. People lounge on white leather couches, crystal glasses in their hands, moving with the easy confidence of those who've never worried about money in their lives. "We can't get in there," Valentina says, but Chiara is already pulling her forward. "Watch me." Chiara approaches the guards with a smile that could melt glaciers. She leans in, whispers something Valentina can't hear, and laughs at whatever response she receives. One of the guards steps aside. Just like that. Valentina's stomach drops as Chiara grabs her hand and pulls her past the velvet rope, up 3 marble steps and into another world. The music is quieter here, or perhaps better quality. The bass less aggressive and more seductive. The people are beautiful in a way that seems almost calculated. The women in designer dresses that probably cost more than Valentina's entire wardrobe. The men in suits that fit like they were painted on. Everyone moves with purpose, with choreographed casualness that speaks of old money and older secrets. "How did you do that?" Valentina hisses, but Chiara just winks. "I know people." They find an empty space near the bar, a sleek construction of backlit glass and chrome. Chiara orders champagne without checking the price, and Valentina doesn't have the heart to protest. The bartender, a woman with silver hair and cat-eye makeup, pours 2 flutes of something that bubbles like liquid gold. "To new beginnings," Chiara says, raising her glass. Valentina clinks her flute against her friend's, takes a sip, and nearly chokes. It's the best champagne she's ever tasted, crisp and clean with a hint of something she can't identify. Luxury, probably. That's what expensive things taste like. She's taking her second sip when she feels it. That particular weight of being watched. Her skin prickles with awareness, the fine hairs on the back of her neck standing at attention. She turns, scanning the VIP area, and her eyes lock onto him. He sits alone on a white leather couch in the corner, one arm stretched along the back, one ankle crossed over the opposite knee. His suit is black, perfectly tailored to broad shoulders and a lean frame. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and strong lines. But it's his eyes that pin her in place, even from across the room, even in the dim golden light. She can see they're dark, intense, and fixed directly on her. Valentina's breath catches. She should look away. Any sensible woman would look away. But there's something magnetic about him, something that makes her frozen champagne flute halfway to her lips, pulse quickening in her throat. He doesn't smile, doesn't gesture, doesn't do anything except watch her with the focus of a predator observing prey. And still, Valentina can't look away. "Oh no," Chiara says beside her, following her gaze. "Not him. Anyone but him." The words break the spell. Valentina tears her eyes away, her cheeks flushing hot. "Who is he?" Chiara leans close, her voice dropping to barely audible. "Dante Salvatore. He owns this place, and half of Florence, if the rumors are true." Valentina's stomach does a complicated flip. Of course, the man who looked at her like that, who made her forget her own name with a single glance, would be someone completely out of her league. Someone dangerous, if Chiara's tone is any indication. "What kind of rumors?" she asks, taking another sip of champagne for courage. Chiara's perfectly manicured nails tap against her glass. The kind that involve money laundering, protection rackets, and people who cross him ending up in the Arno River. Valentina nearly spits out her champagne. "He's a criminal?" "He's connected," Chiara corrects. "There's a difference. Officially, he's a businessman. Property development, hospitality, import-export. But everyone knows the Salvatore family has ties to, well, let's just say, traditional Florentine business practices." The way Chiara says traditional makes it clear she means the mafia. Valentina's heart pounds harder, though whether from fear or something else entirely, she can't say. She risks another glance in his direction and finds him still watching her, his expression unreadable, but no less intense. "Why is he staring at me?" she whispers. Chiara shrugs, but there's worry in her eyes. "I don't know." But Valentina, seriously, do not engage. Men like Dante Salvatore, they don't date. They possess, they consume, and then they move on, leaving nothing but wreckage behind. It's good advice. Sensible advice. The kind of advice Valentina should absolutely follow, especially after Marco, especially given her complete lack of experience with men who look like walking sex, and danger combined. She turns deliberately away from Dante Salvatore, focusing on her champagne, on the music, on anything except the weight of his gaze on her skin. Chiara starts talking about something, a story about their professor, and a scandal involving a married colleague. But Valentina can barely focus. Every cell in her body remains hyper-aware of the man in the corner, of the way the air feels charged with his attention. 10 minutes pass. 15. Valentina finishes her champagne, and Chiara orders another round. The alcohol softens the edges of Valentina's nervousness, makes her feel bolder, more like the person she wishes she could be when a man approaches, tall with kind eyes and an easy smile, asking if she'd like to dance. She says yes before she can overthink it. His name is Alessandro. He's a lawyer, he tells her, as they move to the music, his hands respectful on her waist. He has a nice smile, a normal life. He's exactly the kind of man she should be interested in. But over Alessandro's shoulder, through the crowd of bodies, she can still see Dante Salvatore, and he's no longer alone. A blonde woman in a red dress has joined him on the couch, her hand on his arm, her body angled toward his with clear intent. He's looking at the woman, nodding at something she's saying, but there's something perfunctory about it. Distracted. Valentina tells herself she doesn't care. She focuses on Alessandro, on his pleasant conversation about his work in corporate law, on the way he dances, competent if not particularly inspired. She laughs at his jokes, asks questions, plays the part of someone interested. But when the song ends, and Alessandro asks if she'd like another drink, she excuses herself to the restroom instead. The bathroom is blessedly quiet, the heavy door muffling the club's music to a distant thump. Valentina leans against the marble sink, studying her reflection in the backlit mirror. Her cheeks are flushed from dancing, her carefully applied makeup slightly smudged at the corners. She looks different tonight, older, more sophisticated, like someone who belongs in a place like Il Sogno Nero. But she knows the truth. She's still the same girl who chose books over parties, who preferred quiet libraries to loud clubs, who thought Marco was her future until he proved how wrong she could be about people. The bathroom door opens, and two women enter, their conversation continuing as if Valentina isn't even there. "Did you see Dante tonight?" one says, reapplying lipstick in the mirror. "He brought Francesca. I thought he was done with her." "He's never done with any of them," the other replies, fluffing her dark hair. "He just rotates through, 2 months maximum. Then they're replaced. Still, it must be worth it. Can you imagine? Those hands, that mouth, that complete inability to commit." The first woman interrupts with a laugh. "No thanks. I prefer men who actually call the next day." They leave, their laughter fading into the music. Valentina stares at her reflection, their words settling like stones in her stomach. Not that it matters. Dante Salvatore is nothing to her, just a stranger who looked at her for a few minutes before moving on to someone more appropriate for his world. She's reapplying her lipstick when her phone vibrates. A text from Chiara. "Where are you? Alessandro is looking for you." Valentina sighs, caps her lipstick, and heads back to the club. But when she emerges from the bathroom hallway into the VIP area, she nearly collides with a solid wall of muscle and expensive fabric. "Scusa," she says automatically, stepping back. Then she looks up, and up, into the face of Dante Salvatore. This close, he's even more devastating. His face is all sharp angles and smooth skin, a strong jaw with just a hint of stubble, a mouth that's somehow both cruel and sensual. But it's his eyes that steal her breath, dark as espresso and just as intoxicating, studying her with an intensity that makes her feel simultaneously exposed and electrified. "You've been avoiding looking at me all night," he says. His voice is deep, smooth as aged whiskey, with the faintest trace of a Tuscan accent. "Why?" Valentina's mind goes blank. Of all the things she expected him to say, this wasn't on the list. I wasn't." "You were." He takes a step closer, and suddenly the hallway feels impossibly small. "I've been watching you. You looked at me once when you first arrived, then nothing. Very deliberate." Her heart hammers against her ribs. "Maybe I wasn't interested." The corner of his mouth quirks up, not quite a smile. "You were interested. You still are. Your pupils are dilated. Your pulse is racing right here." He reaches out, his finger hovering just above the point where her neck meets her collarbone, not quite touching, but close enough that she feels the heat of his skin. "And you haven't stepped away." He's right. She should step away. Should walk past him back to Alessandro and safety and normalcy. Instead, she lifts her chin, channeling a bravery she doesn't feel. "Confident, aren't you?" "Observant," he corrects. "There's a difference." His eyes travel slowly down her body and back up, not leering but assessing, as if he's cataloging every detail. "You don't belong here." The words sting more than they should. "Excuse me?" "In this club, this life." He gestures vaguely toward the VIP area behind them. "You're playing dress-up, trying on someone else's world. I can see it in the way you hold yourself, like you're waiting for someone to tell you you don't belong." Anger flares hot in her chest, welcome and empowering. "You don't know anything about me. I know you're a student, graduate level, probably humanities based on your hands. No paint stains or chemical burns. I know you're not from Florence originally. Your accent has northern influences. I know you've been hurt recently. There's a careful distance you maintain with everyone except your friend. And I know you're attracted to me, despite every instinct telling you I'm dangerous. Valentina stares at him, her anger warring with unwilling fascination. How did he see so much? How did he read her so easily when they've never even spoken before? The accent could be from anywhere, she manages, grasping for control. And plenty of people are students in Florence. True. He leans against the wall, still close enough that she can smell his cologne, something dark and woody with hints of bergamot and danger. But I'm rarely wrong about people. It's how I've stayed alive this long. The casual reference to danger sends a shiver down her spine. Everything Chiara said echoes in her mind. Money laundering, protection rackets, the Arno River. I should go, she says, but her feet don't move. My friend is waiting. The lawyer? Dante's eyes darken fractionally. Alessandro Ferretti, nice enough man, boring, safe, exactly the kind of person you think you should be interested in. And you're not safe, she says, half question, half statement. Not even a little. He says it without apology, without pretense, just truth, laid bare between them. But I don't lie about who I am. Can your lawyer friend say the same? Before Valentina can respond, a man approaches from the VIP area, 30s with slicked back hair and an expensive watch. He murmurs something in Dante's ear, his eyes flicking briefly to Valentina, with what might be curiosity or concern. Dante nods once, dismissing him, then returns his attention to her. I have business to attend to, but before you run back to your safe evening with your safe friends, let me make you an offer. Valentina's throat goes dry. What kind of offer? A game, you and me. If I win, you do exactly what I say for the rest of the night. If you win, he pauses, his eyes glinting with something that might be amusement. I leave you alone. Forever. You'll never see me again. Her heart pounds so hard she's certain he can hear it over the music. What kind of game? Your choice. He spreads his hands, the gesture almost innocent. Cards, pool, darts. Or, his smile turns wicked. Something more interesting. A drinking game. Valentina knows she should refuse. Should walk away from this beautiful, dangerous man and his dangerous proposition. But there's something intoxicating about the challenge, about the way he looks at her like she's the only person in the world, about the possibility of something wild and reckless after months of playing it safe. What if I don't want you to leave me alone forever? The words escape before she can stop them, brave and foolish in equal measure. Dante's expression shifts, surprise flickering across his features before being replaced by something darker, more intent. Then I'd say you're either very brave or very stupid. Maybe both. Valentina takes a breath, makes a decision that she knows will change everything. Okay, a drinking game. My choice of what we drink. Agreed. He pushes off the wall, all coiled energy and predatory grace. Follow me. He leads her back into the VIP area, but instead of the main space, he guides her to a private room she hadn't noticed before, hidden behind a black curtain. Inside, it's quieter, more intimate, with a small bar, a pool table, and several plush chairs arranged around a low table. Dante gestures to the bar, choose your poison. Valentina surveys the options, her mind racing. She needs something strong enough to be challenging, but not so strong that she'll lose immediately. Her eyes land on a bottle of grappa, the Italian brandy her grandfather used to drink. Grappa, she says, lifting the bottle. Straight. No chasers. Dante's eyebrows rise fractionally, and she feels a surge of satisfaction at surprising him. You've done this before. My grandfather taught me. She pours 2 generous shots into small glasses. He said a true Italian should never fear grappa. Your grandfather was a wise man. Dante takes one of the glasses, holding it up to the light. The rules, Valentina holds her own glass, the liquid inside gleaming amber under the low lights. Her hands are steadier than they should be, considering what she's agreed to, considering who she's agreed to do it with. Simple, she says, her voice stronger than she feels. We take turns, 1 shot each. First person who refuses to drink or can't continue loses. Dante studies her over the rim of his glass, his dark eyes unreadable. And you think you can outdrink me? I think you underestimate me. She lifts her chin, channeling every ounce of false confidence she can muster. Shall we? He inclines his head, a gesture that's almost courtly, despite the danger radiating from him like heat. After you. Valentina raises her glass in a mock toast, then downs the grappa in one smooth swallow. It burns exactly as she remembers, liquid fire racing down her throat and spreading warmth through her chest. She doesn't cough, doesn't wince, just sets the empty glass on the bar with a soft click. Dante's expression shifts, something like approval flickering across his features. Impressive. He takes his own shot with equal ease, the movement fluid and practiced. Your turn. She pours 2 more shots, her fingers brushing his as she hands him the glass. The contact is brief, accidental, but it sends electricity racing up her arm. His skin is warm, slightly calloused on the fingertips, the hands of someone who does more than sign papers and make phone calls. They drink. The second shot burns less than the first, or perhaps she's just getting used to it. The warmth in her stomach spreads outward, loosening the tight knot of anxiety that's lived in her chest since she walked into this club. Question, Dante says, setting down his empty glass. If you win, I leave you alone forever. But what if you don't want me to leave you alone? Valentina pours the 3rd round, taking her time. That's not how the game works. You win or I win. There's no middle ground. There's always middle ground. He leans against the bar, close enough that she can see the fine lines at the corners of his eyes, the perfect structure of his face. Unless you're afraid of it. I'm not afraid of you. The lie tastes bitter on her tongue, mixing with the lingering grappa. You should be. He says it softly, without threat, but somehow that makes it more menacing. I told you, I'm not safe. I'm not the kind of man who takes women to dinner and calls the next day. I'm the kind of man who consumes, who takes what he wants and doesn't apologize for it. Valentina's pulse pounds in her ears. She should be terrified, should grab her purse and run back to Chiara in safety. Instead, she meets his eyes and takes her 3rd shot. Dante watches her throat work as she swallows, his gaze so intense she feels it like a physical touch. Then he takes his own shot, never breaking eye contact. Why me? She asks, emboldened by the alcohol warming her blood. You could have any woman in this club, probably any woman in Florence. So why are you here with a graduate student in a borrowed dress? For a long moment, he doesn't answer. Then he reaches out, his fingers catching a strand of her hair that's escaped her careful styling. He tucks it behind her ear, the gesture surprisingly gentle from such dangerous hands. Because every other woman in this club is exactly what I expect. They look at me and see money, power, danger. They want what I can give them. His hand drops away, but the warmth of his touch lingers. You looked at me and saw a complication, a problem to be avoided. Do you have any idea how rare that is? So, this is about novelty? She shouldn't feel disappointed, but she does. The challenge of someone who doesn't immediately fall at your feet. This is about honesty. He pours the 4th round himself, his movements precise, despite the alcohol they've consumed. You don't want to be here, but you can't leave. You know I'm dangerous, but you took the bet anyway. You're lying to yourself about what you want, and I find that, he pauses, considering, fascinating. You don't know what I want. Valentina takes the glass he offers, her fingers wrapping around the cool crystal. don't I? He moves closer, invading her space in a way that should feel aggressive, but somehow doesn't. You want to stop being careful, to stop playing it safe, to do something reckless with someone who won't judge you for it. His voice drops lower. You want to forget about whoever hurt you badly enough that you flinch every time someone gets too close. The accuracy of his observation steals her breath. How does he see so much? How does he read her like a book when they've known each other less than an hour? She takes her shot without responding, letting the burn of the alcohol answer for her. Dante does the same, and she notices his eyes are slightly darker now, more dilated. The alcohol is affecting him too, lowering whatever walls he usually keeps in place. My turn to ask questions, she says, pouring round 5. How do you know you're not safe? Have you hurt people? Yes. No hesitation, no justification. Just simple truth. Killed them? That's a dangerous question to ask. But he doesn't deny it, doesn't deflect, just holds her gaze steadily, daring her to be afraid. Valentina should be terrified of this admission, of standing in a private room with a man who just confirmed he's taken lives. Instead, she feels strangely calm. Maybe it's the grappa. Maybe it's something else. Why do you own a nightclub? She asks instead. It seems, I don't know, pedestrian for someone like you. A genuine smile crosses his face, transforming him from dangerous to devastating. Someone like me. You mean a criminal? If the shoe fits. I prefer entrepreneur with flexible ethics. He takes his 5th shot, barely reacting to the burn now. The club serves multiple purposes: legitimate income, social hub, place to conduct certain types of business that require privacy. He gestures to the room around them. And occasionally, it brings interesting people into my orbit. People like me. Especially you. He sets down his glass, then does something unexpected. He reaches out and takes her free hand, turning it palm up, his thumb tracing the lines there. Art history, right? That's your focus? She nods, too distracted by the warmth of his skin against hers to question how he knows. Renaissance, specifically, he continues, still studying her palm as if reading her future there. You're writing your thesis on overlooked female artists of the period. Artemisia Gentileschi, Sophonisba Anguissola. Valentina jerks her hand back. How do you know that? I told you I'm observant. He smiles at her alarm. And I may have asked around after I first saw you. The graduate student community in Florence is small. It wasn't hard to find out who you are. That's not observant, she says, anger cutting through the alcohol haze. That's stalking. That's interest. He doesn't apologize, doesn't look remotely sorry. I wanted to know who you were before I approached you, whether you were worth the complication. And her voice comes out smaller than she intends. And here we are. He nods toward the glasses. Round 6, unless you want to concede. Valentina pours with hands that shake slightly, though whether from anger or something else, she can't say. They drink. The grappa is starting to taste less like fire and more like liquid courage. You're not what I expected, she admits. When Chiara told me who you were, I thought, I don't know, more obviously dangerous, threatening. I can be threatening when necessary. His voice remains soft, conversational. But you're not a threat, Valentina. You're a distraction. A very beautiful, very unexpected distraction. The way he says her name, rolling the syllables like they're something precious, makes her stomach flutter. You used my name. Of course. I've known it since I asked about you. He leans in closer. Valentina Rossi, 26 years old. From Verona, originally. Mother deceased. Father estranged. Raised primarily by your grandmother. Scholarship student. Works part-time at the Uffizi Gallery. Giving tours, lives in a tiny apartment near Piazza Santa Croce with Chiara Bianchi, Your best friend since freshman year. The recitation of her life story should terrify her, should send her running from this room, this club, this dangerous man who knows too much. Instead, Valentina feels something else entirely. Seen, understood, known in a way that's both invasive and oddly intimate. That's creepy, she manages, but there's no real heat in the words. The grappa has softened her edges, made everything feel distant and dreamlike. That's thorough. Dante straightens, putting a few inches of distance between them, though she can still feel the heat of him. I don't take chances with people who interest me. I need to know who they are, what they want, what they're capable of. And what am I capable of? She pours round 7, noticing the bottle is now half empty. Her hands are steady despite the alcohol singing through her veins, warming her from the inside out. More than you think. He takes his glass, his fingers brushing hers again. This time, the contact lingers. You're stronger than you let people believe. Smarter. You hide behind books and research and being careful, but there's something wild under the surface, something that wants to break free. Valentina drinks her shot, using the burn as an excuse not to respond. Because he's right. Because there is something in her that wants to stop being safe, stop being the good girl who does everything right, and still ends up hurt. Your turn, Dante says after taking his own shot. One more question. Make it count. She considers him, this beautiful, dangerous man who's somehow seen through all her careful defenses. What do you want from me? Really? Tonight? He sets down his glass with exaggerated care, the first sign that the alcohol might be affecting him more than he's letting on. I want to see who you really are under all the caution. I want to hear you laugh without that careful control you maintain. I want to know what you taste like without this, he gestures to the grappa bottle, between us. Heat floods through her, pooling low in her belly. And after tonight? I don't plan that far ahead. His smile is crooked, almost boyish, so at odds with his reputation. Contrary to what you might think, I'm not in the habit of collecting women. But you, Valentina Rossi, with your borrowed dress and your careful walls, you make me want to break my own rules. She should say something, should maintain some distance, but the words won't come. Instead, she pours round 8, and they drink in silence, eyes locked across the small space of the bar. The room tilts slightly when Valentina sets down her glass. Not enough to be alarming, just enough to remind her that she's drinking grappa with a mafia boss in a private room, and she hasn't thought about consequences once. Feeling it yet? Dante asks, and there's amusement in his voice. No. Another lie. She's definitely feeling it, the warmth spreading through her limbs, making everything softer and less frightening. You? I have a high tolerance. But he blinks a bit slower than normal, and when he moves to pour round 9, his movements are fractionally less precise. Hazard of my work. What exactly is your work? She asks, emboldened by the alcohol, besides owning clubs and terrorizing graduate students. Import-export, mostly. Property development. Investments. His standard answer, the one that sounds legitimate and boring. Then, with a slight smile, and occasionally solving problems that require creative solutions. Creative solutions, she repeats. Is that a euphemism for murder? Among other things. He hands her the 9th shot. Does that frighten you? Valentina considers the question seriously. By all logic, it should. She should be terrified of this admission, of standing in a locked room with someone who's just confirmed he kills people as part of his business. Instead, she feels strangely calm, protected even, though she can't explain why. No, she admits quietly. It doesn't. Should it? Probably. He touches his glass to hers in a gentle clink. Most people find me terrifying. I think you want people to find you terrifying. It's easier that way. Safer. She takes her shot, the burn familiar now, almost pleasant. But I don't think you're as dangerous as you pretend. His laugh is sharp, surprised. Careful, Valentina. That kind of assumption gets people hurt. Are you going to hurt me? The question hangs between them, heavy with implications. Dante sets down his glass without drinking, his dark eyes boring into hers. No, he says finally, and there's a weight to the word, like a promise. Never. Not intentionally. Unintentionally, then? That's always a risk. He takes his shot, then immediately pours round 10. I break things, Valentina. It's what I do. Businesses, agreements, people who cross me. I'm very good at breaking things. Maybe I'm not as fragile as you think. She takes the glass he offers. Maybe I can handle more than you give me credit for. Or maybe, he counters, moving around the bar until he's standing directly in front of her, close enough that she has to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. You have no idea what you're getting into, and by the time you realize it, it'll be too late. Her heart pounds against her ribs. Is that a threat? It's a warning. His hand comes up to cup her jaw, his thumb brushing her lower lip. Last chance, Valentina. Walk away now, and I'll honor our agreement. You win the game by default. I'll leave you alone forever. She should take the out, should step away from his touch and his heat and his danger. But the grappa has made her brave, or foolish, or both. I'm not walking away. Her voice is steady despite the chaos in her chest, and I'm going to win this game fair and square. Something flashes in his eyes, triumph maybe, or satisfaction. Then drink. They take shot 10 simultaneously, and this time, when Valentina sets down her glass, the room definitely tilts. She grips the bar for balance, laughing at her own unsteadiness. Okay, she admits. Maybe I'm feeling it now. Lightweight. But there's affection in the teasing, and when she sways slightly, his hands come to her waist, steadying her. Should we call it? Absolutely not. She pushes away from him, determined to prove she can still stand on her own. I can keep going. Can you? He pours round 11, but he's watching her carefully now, assessing. Because I don't actually want you passing out. That would be very bad for my reputation. Your reputation as a terrifying mafia boss? She takes the glass, proud that her hand barely shakes. Pretty sure that ship has sailed. Mafia is such an ugly word. He takes his own glass. I prefer entrepreneur with traditional values. Valentina laughs, a real laugh, free and unguarded. Traditional values. That's one way to put it. They drink. The 11th shot goes down smoother than any before, and Valentina realizes with some alarm that she can't actually feel her lips anymore. The room is definitely moving, swaying gently like a boat on calm water. I think, she says carefully, enunciating each word. I might have overestimated my tolerance. Dante sets down his glass and moves toward her, his hands finding her waist again. I think you might be right. Shall I call it? Declare myself the winner? Pride flares through the alcohol haze. No. One more round. I can do one more. Valentina. Her name is a warning and a caress. You've proven your point. You're brave and stubborn, and you don't back down from a challenge. But there's no shame in. One more, she insists, reaching for the bottle. But when she tries to pour, she misjudges the distance, and grappa spills across the bar. Dante catches her wrist gently, taking the bottle from her. I'm calling it. I win. The words should devastate her, but through the pleasant fog of alcohol, she can't quite remember why. You win what? Dante sets the bottle down carefully, his hand still on her wrist. The game. Remember, if I win, you do whatever I say for the rest of the night. The words penetrate slowly through the grappa haze, Valentina blinks at him, processing. Oh, right. She should be concerned, should be worried about what that means. But the alcohol has smoothed away her anxiety, leaving only curiosity. So what do you want me to do? She asks, and is surprised by how steady her voice sounds, despite the way the room continues its gentle swaying. Dante studies her for a long moment, his dark eyes unreadable. Then, slowly, deliberately, he releases her wrist and steps back, putting distance between them. First, I want you to drink this. He produces a bottle of water from somewhere behind the bar, twists off the cap, and hands it to her. Valentina stares at the water, confused. That's not what I expected. What did you expect? There's amusement in his voice now, warm and genuine. I don't know. Something more. Dramatic? Scandalous? She takes the water bottle, sipping obediently. The cool liquid is a relief against the burn of the grappa, and she realizes how thirsty she is. Drink all of it, he commands softly. And she does, surprised to find the entire bottle empty in what feels like seconds. He hands her another. This too. You're very bossy, she observes, but she drinks the second bottle as well. Already, the sharp edges of her intoxication are softening, the water cutting through some of the fog. You agreed to do whatever I say. He leans against the bar, arms crossed, watching her with that same intense focus that made her breathless when she first saw him. Right now, I'm saying drink water, and let me look at you. Look at me? She sets down the empty bottle, suddenly self-conscious. Why? Because you're beautiful, he says simply, as if it's the most obvious thing in the world, and because I've been wanting to really look at you all night, but you kept avoiding my eyes. Heat that has nothing to do with the grappa floods through her. I wasn't avoiding. I was being sensible. Sensible, he repeats, pushing off the bar and moving toward her again. That word keeps coming up with you. Sensible. Safe. Careful. He stops directly in front of her, close enough that she can smell his cologne again. That intoxicating mix of danger and desire. Do you know what I think? What? Her voice comes out breathier than intended. I think you're tired of being sensible. I think you're exhausted from being careful. I think you came to this club tonight hoping something would happen, something wild and reckless that would make you feel alive again. His hand comes up to cup her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. And I think you're terrified that you got exactly what you wanted. Valentina's breath catches. He's right. He's completely, devastatingly right. And the fact that he sees her so clearly should be frightening, but instead feels like relief. So what now? She whispers. You won the game. I do whatever you say. What do you want from me, Dante? His name on her lips seems to affect him, his eyes darkening, his jaw tightening. What I want, he says slowly, is to take you upstairs to my private apartment. I want to remove this dress that's been distracting me all night. I want to discover if you taste as good as you look. I want to make you forget your own name, forget to be careful, forget everything except how I make you feel. Her heart hammers so hard she's certain he can hear it. Every instinct screams that this is dangerous, that sleeping with a man like Dante Salvatore will complicate her life in ways she can't predict. But the grappa-loosened part of her brain whispers something else. When was the last time she felt this alive? This wanted? This seen? But Dante continues, his thumb still tracing patterns on her cheek. I'm not going to do any of that tonight. Disappointment crashes through her, sharp and unexpected. Why not? Because you're drunk, he says gently. Not falling down drunk anymore, thanks to the water, but definitely not sober. And I don't take advantage of drunk women, no matter how much I want them. He leans in, his lips brushing her ear. When I have you, Valentina, and I will have you, I want you completely aware of every single thing I'm doing to you. Shivers race down her spine at the promise in his words. So what? You're just going to send me home? No. He pulls back enough to meet her eyes, and there's something wicked in his smile. I said I wouldn't take you to bed. I didn't say I was done with you tonight. You still owe me. You do whatever I say, remember? I remember, she manages, her mouth dry despite all the water. Good. He takes her hand, lacing his fingers through hers with surprising intimacy. Then come with me. There's something I want to show you. He leads her out of the private room, through the VIP area where people's eyes follow them with open curiosity, and toward a door marked Privato. Beyond it, a staircase winds upward, the walls exposed brick, the lighting soft and golden. Where are we going? Valentina asks, climbing the stairs with careful concentration. The grappa still affects her balance, though less severely now. My office, Dante replies, keeping hold of her hand as if afraid she might bolt. There's a terrace. I thought you might like some air. They emerge into a space that's part office, part apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook Florence, the city spread out below them like scattered jewels. The furniture is expensive but lived in. A massive desk covered in papers, leather couches that look actually comfortable, bookshelves lined with what appear to be real books, not just decorative spines. But Dante leads her past all of it to a set of French doors that open onto a terrace. The night air is cool against her heated skin, carrying the scent of the Arno River and blooming jasmine from somewhere nearby. The view is breathtaking. The Duomo illuminated in the distance, the Ponte Vecchio spanning the dark water, the hills beyond dotted with lights. Oh, Valentina breathes, moving to the railing. It's beautiful. Yes, Dante agrees. But when she glances at him, he's not looking at the view. He's looking at her. She should say something clever, something to break the tension stretching between them. Instead, she just stares back, letting herself really look at him for the first time without fear or caution. In the moonlight, he's almost unbearably handsome, all sharp angles and smooth skin, power and danger wrapped in an expensive suit. What are you thinking? He asks quietly. That I should be terrified of you, she admits. That every sensible part of my brain is screaming at me to run. But I can't seem to make myself care. The grappa talking. Maybe. She turns back to the view, gripping the railing. Or maybe I'm just tired of being the girl who always does the right thing. Where has that gotten me? A cheating ex-boyfriend, a mountain of student debt, and a life so small and safe I can barely breathe. Dante moves to stand beside her, his shoulder brushing hers. What happened with the ex? Marco. His name tastes bitter even now. We were together 2 years. I thought, I don't know, that we'd get married after I finished my degree. Then I came home early one day and found him in bed with someone else. In my bed. With my roommate, actually. Chiara? God, no. My old roommate. Chiara came into my life after, helped me pick up the pieces. She laughs, but there's no humor in it. The worst part wasn't even the cheating. It was how small he made me feel. Like I was boring, predictable, not worth the effort of being faithful to. Dante's hand covers hers on the railing, warm and solid. He was an idiot. He wasn't wrong, though. She turns to face him fully. I am boring. I spend my weekends in libraries. My idea of excitement is finding a new reference for my thesis. Until tonight, the most reckless thing I'd done in months was buying wine that cost more than 10 euros. You're not boring, Dante says firmly. You're careful. There's a difference. You've been hurt. So you built walls. That doesn't make you boring. It makes you smart. Then why am I here? She asks, the question spilling out. Why did I take your bet? Why am I standing on your terrace at midnight when I should be home in my safe apartment, having sensible dreams about my sensible life? Because, he says, turning to face her fully, his hands coming to rest on her waist. Some part of you knew that I would see you. Really see you. Not the careful grad student, or the girl who got cheated on, or the person you think you should be. Just you, Valentina Raw, and real and brave enough to challenge me even when you were terrified. Tears sting her eyes, unwelcome and embarrassing. I wasn't brave. I was drunk and stupid. You were brave, he insists, one hand moving up to cup her face, his thumb catching a tear that escapes. And you still are. Do you know how rare that is? To meet someone who isn't performing? Who isn't trying to be what they think I want? What do you want? The question again, but this time it means something different.